Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BizDev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. My name is David Baxter, and I am your host. I am joined today by our logo-wearing Gary Voigt. Thank you for pimping out the swag that you made. Very good. Nicely done. He is our creative director and my co-host. Today, we are pleased to be joined by Nick Paleveda. He is the CEO of National Pension Partners and Pod TV. He's an adjunct professor of the graduate tax program at Northeastern University and a member of the Florida Bar and American Bar Association, which means you're very, very busy. That's a lot. That's very cool. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. So looking around the world, this has been a crazy week. We have three little hot takes because everything has gone sideways. My favorite, I think, out of all the ones, no, I can't pick a favorite. Twitter is an absolute mess. Yeah. We talked about it last week quite a bit, but this has gotten just bonkers.
Between Amazon, Meta, and Twitter, the whole, I guess you could say, tech bubble of leadership or the main companies. It seems like Google's the only one not really struggling right now, but...
Well, struggling is relative. I mean, even Facebook, when they laid all those people off, they still made $5 billion in profit.
Struggling,
it's all
meaning
very strange.
How they look in the media, I guess you could say, people's perception.
Well, I was talking to the team about this the other day, and I got miffed. I got a little heated under the collar because
I was hoping you were going to bring this up.
I hear a lot of pundits, news people talking about the dire straits of the economy, and they point to these tech companies as examples of that bad economy, as in the whole thing. And I think that's totally and completely wrong because these companies, Meta and Twitter in particular, have aimed this big handmade, custom crafted shotgun right at their foot. They've got a laser sight on it and they pulled the trigger. They did this to themselves. This is not because the economy's bad or we have inflation or anything. Twitter is a dumpster fire because Elon Musk has no idea how to run the company. Meta is a dumpster fire because because they won't concentrate on Facebook and what makes them all the money. They throw it all down the ever deep hole of
Zuckerbuggers.
Can we pick on Twitter to start with?
Oh, you absolutely can. Please, it's a pastime of mine.
Okay, let's go to number one. Number one, Elon Musk. What's his experience running a social media or media network? Zero experience.
Just being a troll. Okay? Just being a troll.
He's a very avid Twitter user.
All right. Yeah. As I told people, like I said, I'm a 3-time Florida State champion chess. You put me in a room with Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk. They will all lose. I guarantee it. They have no chance. Why? Because 3-time Florida State chess champion, master against people who barely know how to play. So they'll all get slaughtered. Now you got Elon Musk. He thinks he's a master at everything. He's not. Now he's getting into media. He fell into problem number one, which I could have told him after owning a media company now for about 6 years. You don't know how many people are actually watching your show because of the robots that are out there. I could have told him that. Anybody in media knows you have a certain amount of views, you have a certain amount of metrics, but it could be all fake people. Well, he stumbled in that problem. Oops, didn't know that. Problem number two, he used debt to acquire most of the assets. Okay, well, that creates a lot of instability just to begin with. In other words, he went $13 billion in the hole. Where's the cash? He doesn't have the cash. Oh, wait, he's a billionaire. No. And Bill Gates pointed this out a long time ago. His value is the value of Tesla stock. Mm-hmm. His net worth is based on a stock which at one time was 1,000 times earnings. The PE ratio 1,000 times. What does that mean? Imagine you made $1,000 this year, okay? And now you say, I'm worth $100,000. Why is that? Well, because 100 times PE, but instead you're worth like $1 million. His PE ratio on Tesla was off the charts. Everybody who's an intelligent investor, and we have investing shows on Pod TV, knows that PE ratio could not stand. So the value, his net worth, is based on a fiction, the price earnings ratio of Tesla. So he had to go borrow the money because he didn't have the cash. Now he buys Tesla. First thing he did, he fires half the staff. But did he fire the right staff? Remember, your biggest asset is your employees. And if you get rid of half of them, did he get rid of the people that had the relationship with the advertisers? Oops, what a mistake. And then he loses the big advertising. So now you're always thinking about filing bankruptcy. Oh, that's real smart. Now, and he's supposed to be a fantastic leader. Give me a break. The only thing he did well, he was at the right place at the right time. By the way, anyone listen to this podcast, you cannot beat that. If you're at the right place at the right time with the right stuff, you're going to win. And he was at the right place at the right with the right stuff with Peter Thiel and PayPal in San Francisco, California. That's where he started off making his money. Then he maneuvered and he gambled into Tesla. Notice I used the word gamble. Got the federal government to bail him out. Remember, he had to get those contracts through NASA, and he also needed the government to supply those charging stations. And now all of a sudden he can't do any wrong. Well, I'm sorry, he can do wrong, just like Madoff and even the people on Enron, if you remember that. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen to Twitter?
Nice.
We don't know. Look, it could go bankrupt. I'm serious. There was a company you guys may or may not be familiar with called Quibi. I don't know if you're familiar with that. There's 3 companies I tell people in media to look at. You want to look at Cheddar for sure, Pluto TV, and the business plan of Quibi. Now, if you didn't follow the business plan of Cheddar and Pluto, Google it. In 6 years, they went from zero to market cap, selling out of $200 to $400 million in 6 years. Then Quibi. What's Quibi? Are you guys familiar with Quibi?
I remember that name.
Yeah, if you're familiar, if you're in media, you'll know
that's
Quibi.
Katzenberg's company where they wanted to change everything.
Very good.
The
Katzenberg
move.
and Meg, who was it? Whitman, who did eBay. Okay, Meg Whitman. All right. They all of a sudden thought, in their infinite wisdom, that they're going to spend billions on Quibi. And we started Pod TV at the same time Quibi got started. And billions. And they bought these beautiful buildings in Rodeo Drive. And they spent hundreds of $1 million on actors thinking that, boy, they're going to get all these viewers. And then they folded and lost anywhere between $1 billion and $1.7 billion and went bankrupt. As I told people, the same 6 months the Pod TV network was in existence, we saw Quibi go in and out the door to where many reviewers never even heard of them. But they probably heard of Katzenberg and Whitman, and it was an epic fail. Not a failure, an epic fail. Just because you have a big name doesn't mean you're automatically successful in business. So now we're looking at Elon Musk. His musketeers are right now on the line, and his musketeers, he might find Twitter in bankruptcy. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, it seems bad. Oh, bankruptcy. Well, Trump did it 6 times. In law practice, it's called corporate reorganizations, which in many cases you don't liquidate under Chapter 7. You do it 11 or 13 and reorganization and turn that debt into equity so you don't have to pay your debt holders. And watch.
You just change the name of the business.
Yeah, right. You change the name of the business. Where are you going to change Twitter to? Okay. So he bought the bird, and the bird may just be eaten by Sylvester the cat. Who knows? Okay. So that's problem number 1. Now we go to problem number 2 that you mentioned, Meta. Okay. Mark Zuckerberg. You're right. He was on the right course. Who knows what his employees were being paid for? I don't think he knows. Half the employees on payroll, so he got rid of 11,000 of them. But what innovation did they do? Nothing. What they're trying to do is Google Glass. Remember how popular they are? How many people have Google Glass? Oh, nobody does. Why? Because it was in and out. That was a Google failure. Okay, and he's trying to do the meta universe or whatever the heck he thinks it is. And it may work 20 years from now or maybe even 15 years from now. But today, his metaverse doesn't work. As I say, we have almost as many followers on the Pod TV network worldwide than he does on his whole metaverse. And we don't have his, almost $900 billion under management. So again, it goes back to just because you're a big name, Meg Whitman, just because you're a big name, Katzenberg, doesn't mean you're successful in the next move on the chessboard. So what you're seeing is something that is quite possible to be the failure of Twitter. I've gone to their site, and frankly, I go, it's difficult to maneuver. It isn't even leading edge. You know what's getting all the views? TikTok, owned by Byte, and of course Reels. Okay, they're getting all the views. Well, what about the metaverse? What about it? What about Google Glass? So I wouldn't give him them much credit in their moves on the chessboard. I think they're pretty poor. And how's it reflected? Look at their stock. Neither one are doing very good. So, the stock price always reflects what the people believe on the boards. But come on, Tesla was like way overpriced. at a 1,000 times price earnings ratio, anybody in investing would not touch a company that had 1,000 times PE. I had a lot of our internal investors look at it, and we were laughing. We didn't know what else to say.
I thought I saw an article explaining that that's going to be looked at with a little bit more scrutiny coming up soon as well. Elon's contract with Tesla.
PE?
Oh, you're talking about his pay contract. That this week, Musk is in court because one guy who literally owns 8 shares of Tesla sued and doesn't think that Musk should be paid that much money, which is debatable, of course. If so, those who don't know, he's being
paid Tesla?
$56 billion.
How much?
$56 billion is his salary. Now, the thing is, and this is his argument, and he said, I took this deal. Argument. Right. He took this deal back when Tesla was making no money. Sure. And he has turned it into $1 trillion business. And he says, I would have gotten zero salary if we hadn't done well, but we have done well. So I get $56 billion. That is a total pay for performance, as it were.
He's full of it. Come on. How can anybody believe that? Anybody who's been in business knows that you don't make the company. It's all the people that work for you and work with you that make the company. If anybody believes that this one individual made a difference, they're smoking some serious bloody weed. He's just one big face man. And no, I wouldn't pay him $50 billion? That guy from San Francisco, California, forget it. No, that certainly don't put me on the jury with Elon Musk. I mean, all he is a gambler at the top of the heap. That's all. And so
this is our guest, Nick. By the way, he's coming in hot.
Yeah, I was going to say he's got the hot takes. This is
hot takes, man. You said it was hot takes. Nick's taking you, and you're just an amateur. He's coming in with the flamethrower.
What?
There was just one more funny thing.
I appreciate it. No.
The other small thing I wanted to mention about Twitter that I found amusing, since the verification nightmare started and the blue check thing with all the fake accounts tweeting and actually affecting other businesses like stock values and everything.
The Nintendo one's my favorite
to watch. Oh, with Mario.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, if there is a fake, so someone paid. So here's how it works. Twitter said,
$8
hey,
to get a check. Yeah.
You pay $8 and you are a verified user. And they were supposed to be saying that we are verifying you based on your credit card. So I say I am such and such. But then immediately you got verified as Joe Smith, and then you change your name. So this guy changed his name to Nintendo of America and took a picture of Mario flicking everybody off with a checkbox.
Well, they need to have verified viewers, and the tech companies could do that, but they just don't want to spend the money because it's better to have verified robots that bring up the amount of viewers that they have. And I can tell you, running Pod TV for the last 6 years, it is a very difficult metric to chase. In other words, somebody asks, well, how many viewers do you have? Well, Vimeo gives us 177,000. How many are robots? I don't know. They don't break that down. So I can't, if I'm honest with people, I tell them I don't know. And then the other problem is I don't get metrics from LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. YouTube does give us some metrics. And so the thing is, the real problem in the industry, and I'm just talking the media industry in general, is getting metrics and verifiable data. Now, my other business I work in, National Pension Partners, we're supposed to discuss someday, something we have to get to do any retirement plan is verifiable data. What's their W-2? How much money they have in the plan? And it's all verifiable. And what's it growing at? What's it invested in? All that's verifiable. So could you do these same metrics in media? Yes. Do they want to do it? No. They'd rather live in a world of illusion because then they go to their advertisers. Oh, look at all these views we have.
Yeah. I used to work for a national media company.
And people from Asia that are being paid to press buttons to make you look like you have views. That's the truth. But they don't
the amount of gymnastics that goes into utilizing these metrics to get advertiser dollars is insane as well. So I used to work for a national media company that did that. Like, it didn't matter. You could pull the smallest little weird ratio of metrics, and then next thing you know, that's a campaign to your advertisers to try to generate more sales.
That's right. So media does not want the advertisers to know. To watch a guy as purportedly as sophisticated as Elon Musk to stumble into that big trap, it's like watching somebody fall for fool's mate in chess. I'm going, if you fell for that, now you're going to run a media company? No, forget it, because that's the first trap out there is the data is inaccurate. And he figured it out, but unfortunately too late. He already had made his deal to purchase Twitter without verifying the data.
So you run two different businesses, is that right? You got National Pension Partners,
yes,
which is a finance firm, accounting firm. What is that?
Yeah, well, what it is that what we actually do is we design, administer pension plans all over the United States through the internet. Now, I formed the company 22 years ago, so it's not like, oh boy, this is overnight success, but it was a bootstrap. But it's not been my only bootstrap. A lot of people don't know what's a bootstrap. You take an idea and concept, and rather than go to an investor, I need your money, you basically take the money and keep rolling it into your company till it develops to where it is making a lot of money, basically. So what happened in the infinite wisdom back in 2001, in my prior life, I was an estate planning attorney for large estates. My clients were the founder of Dunkin' Donuts. My client was the president of Philip Morris, the founding family of Coca-Cola, the president of Merck. I had all these, I even have their books here. These were all my clients when I did estate planning. Then Congress, in their infinite wisdom, decide they're going to repeal the federal estate tax. Okay? Well, then they don't need an estate tax attorney anymore. And this was in 2001. And so I basically got fired by Congress. Now, that's because rich people shouldn't pay taxes. Poor people do, as we well know. And they control Congress. Poor people don't. So out went the estate tax and out went my business. I need to find something else to do. So I went flipping through the Internal Revenue Code, found they put in benefits and defined benefit plans, and started a company from scratch, which became National Pension Partners. And of course, you go through this rocky road, this huge growth period, et cetera, the perseverance, where today National Pension Partners brings in about $1 million a week, which is pretty good. And I don't even run the company. My business partner, Max, has run it for the last 5, maybe 10 years. So I dropped my company off in Seattle. It's actually in Salt Lake City. I was there this week before I came back. And he runs the company because there's a lot of work to do in terms of bringing the business in, processing, get people to put in, $200,000 to $500,000 to $700,000. The reason they do it, they get a tax deduction as it goes into the plan, and then you go do the next one. And we back office some of the major insurance companies around the United States doing the actual administration work. So as that thing was progressing along, I was getting involved in what they call financial literacy, mainly because of teaching at Northeastern University, where I've been adjunct professor for the graduate tax program for 12 years, lead faculty for their retirement planning program. And as I noticed, people don't get retirement planning education in the United States of America. I always ask, well, how many retirement plans did you guys take when you were in high school? None.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not? Because it's not offered. And then as you go to college, it's not offered there too. I studied the MBA classes at Stanford. You've heard of them. They're a good school out west. They think they are. University of Chicago, good Midwestern school. Yale, which is a good Eastern school, and Harvard. I went through their entire curriculum to see if you got an MBA from any of those schools. Did you ever take a class in retirement plans or qualified plans? And the answer is no. Or executive compensation? No. And so if anybody comes to me with an MBA from any of those schools, one thing I guarantee you, they know nothing about basic retirement planning. Zero. And see, this is the big educational gap that we have in the United States of America. We do not take financial courses. Now it's changing, by the way, and they're starting to offer them. But for years, you never take a financial class. You could be a doctor. Half of my clients are medical doctors, and they never took a financial planning class. They never took a retirement planning class. So after working at National Pension Partners for a while, I said, let's do a financial literacy course for PBS. Okay. So I got together some people I know through the chess world. One, John Fanning. You probably don't know who he is, but he founded a company called Napster. Okay. With his nephew,
Might have heard of that,
Sean Fanning and Sean Parker. So I called John and say, hey, come over to Campbell Law School, where I was teaching law school at the time, and we'll do a show for financial literacy. I called another person, Alan Treffler. Nobody knows who he is, but he founded a company called Pegasystems. And Alan is a chess master and also a multi-billionaire. I tell people, go Google him, Alan Treffler, Google him. Okay, and then I got David K. Johnson, a Pulitzer Prize winner, and David Walker. And to come, David Walker was former Comptroller General of the United States. He's still on our Pod TV Network, and so is David K. Johnson and James Smith. And we put together this nice educational series for PBS. I went to 2 of their national conferences. You know what they did? Threw it out the door. Now, why did they throw it out the door? Because PBS, and they don't tell you this, their average contributor is a 69-year-old female. A 69-year-old female wants Downton Abbey. They don't want to listen to financial stuff. And so the thing is, they go, there's no place in PBS. And not only that, they don't buy American programming. They buy program for the BBC, ship it over here in what they call their common carriage, and put it on their networks nationwide, which is basically supported by the states. In other words, the state of North Carolina actually funds the UNC, PBS UNC. Okay, so after 2 years, I figured out there's no future with the public broadcasting system. All right, so we went to NAPTE, and no one knows what NAPTE is, National Association of Professional Television Executives. They meet semi-annually in Miami and also in Budapest. I went to the one in Miami and met with the president of CBS, Paul Franklin, about the show. Okay, let's do financial show in the evening. I can't do it in the evening because you have to bump NCIS, and you're not going to do that. Or one of their favorite shows ain't going to happen, and it's not meant for the daytime, hence you have no space.
Did you end up like one of those infomercials playing at like 3:30 in the morning?
Yeah, so we took it, we took it and put it on the Biz TV network, which is 40 small stations around the country for about a year, and my business partner, Kim, keeps going, we got to own our own network. We got our own network. I said, well, who's going to write the $400 million check other than Elon Musk, who doesn't know what he's doing? I said, it's ridiculous. So we couldn't do that. And then what happens, I called her up. I said, you know what? We can have our own network. Why? I said, the technology's changed. And I figured out, just like I actually self-taught myself to become 3-time Florida State chess champion, USAF master. They didn't have coaches back then. I said, I figured it out. I figured out I can do the programming, and we can actually have our own TV network. And we started our network with a company called IBM. And it was IBM TV because we had a 2-year contract working with IBM. Okay, so it was IBM TV. We started off just broadcasting through LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. We were on Roku or Amazon at the time. And then IBM the guy who headed IBM IoT took a job in India, and IBM wanted their name back. Oops. So they went to WIPO and took IBM TV from me, just like this crunch, like every big company does. And there's a whole story about how they can do that, but that's another story. And so we were looking through our URLs. We own Pod TV. So we stuck Pod TV up there. That's how we became Pod TV. It wasn't because we wanted to. It's that IBM TV, it's either we fight IBM for our name that they just took from us, or which they could argue, well, it's their name too. So obviously, they have ours was IBM TV.TV. They said they own the letters. Okay, fine. So we started Pod TV, and we had a problem. No programs, no distribution, no content, no nothing. That was 2.5 years ago.
But you had your show on retirement planning.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Actually, you're right.
You had one great show.
Thanks, Gary. We could throw up our shows on retirement planning. But how are you going to fill 164 hours a week when you have one show? You can't. So you had to start recruiting, or we had to start recruiting producers to start putting shows on the network. And today, the first year, actually, we were pretty good. We recruited 65 producers from the United States and around the world. We figured out, because of our relationship with this gentleman in Nepal, who runs the Biz TV Nepal, that we could actually do international broadcasting just as well as you could do U.S. So we could be on, guys could be on a show, and they could bring in like Shambhu Pokharel from Nepal, and he'd be on the show with you. And he'd appear just like us because the technology's changed. That there was no pixelating, no problems. They could hear him just as well. They could see him just as well. So what happened is we started developing international programming, Swiss Impact out of Switzerland, a bunch of shows out of New Delhi, India. And then we brought in shows from Nigeria, South Africa, Malaysia, and built the network to today where it has around 100 shows broadcasting into 122 countries with 177,000 of non-verifiable views. Okay. In other words, like, I think they're watching it. That's what Vimeo says is watching it. And then we bought into or figured out how to program. It's a combination of programming and spending money to have our own TV show on Roku. So I could take all your programs and basically stick them on Roku. Actually through the Pod TV network, because we got approved on that, and also Amazon Fire. So the thing is, we figured out what I call the distribution model to make sure that not only can people watch it here, but they can watch it in 122 countries, which CBS, by the way, is only in 86 countries, and Fox the same way. Now, how are we able to do it? And they can't. They can. See, that's the problem. If you ever read the book Netflix by Harding and also Hastings, they both said the same thing. Anybody could do it. Netflix, anybody could do that. Why didn't they? Well, it's too big. You know why? They're too busy collecting their corporate paychecks in San Francisco and looking for their $66 billion bonuses. That's the reason they can't do it. It's not that they can't do it. They're too busy looking for after their jobs. So I thought, well, if they're not going to do it and they're going to be asleep at the wheel, I'll take it. So we have a new motto at the Pod TV network. It's called this. Real simple, guys. Here's our business plan. Global media domination. Just follow the lines. Global media domination. Where not only is your programming available here, it's available everywhere, and it goes into all the countries, not just the United States of America. To the point on LinkedIn, I got complaints from LinkedIn. We have too many viewers, and we got 455,000 in like 1 hour. They're going, you guys got too many viewers. I got complaints from Duke professors. I can't get rid of you. You're everywhere. How do we get rid of you? And Mark Lee was doing the back room on that. I said, well, that's the point. We don't want you to get rid of us. We want to be everywhere. Since then, I reconverted these Duke professors, and I have 3 programs that are being produced by professors at Duke University. So what you do is you take the lemon and you make it into lemonade. So when you see the complaint, you figure out, well, how can I make this where it's positive? So now we've got some good programming there. And it's not like we're stopping here. There's a future, which is real simple. And I'll tell you what it is, because some of the stuff is way too simple. Right now, we're talking in English, right? Everybody here is English. How well does that work when your native language is Spanish and you don't understand English? You die at the borders of Spain or one of our countries, Brazil, that watches a lot of our program. I don't know why. You don't speak Portuguese. Technology has changed. I can instantaneously, and I actually dub our programs currently into Russian. Our programs go into Chinese, Japanese, Spanish, French, German, and Swahili. Okay, but I have 100 others. So all the programs that we have at Pod TV get the way they call it, not dubbed, but they have captions in different languages.
Okay,
so
I was going to ask that. Is the translation mainly in captioning, or is it in actual voice dubbing?
Well, captioning it. Okay, Gary, captioning is step number 1. We have step number 2 we're working on right now. It's dubbing. The technologies have changed. It's there. It's available right now.
Yeah, it's getting more and more accurate, but I'm sure there's still probably some hiccups in it.
It's AI accurate. I mean, the thing is, so right now we're doing captioning. So the people, if they listen to the show and say, hey, they want to see the captions in Japanese, no problem, boom, Japanese. What we're going to do first quarter next year is start dubbing. So because the dubbing software has changed tremendously, and then you'll be talking in English, but when you talk, it's going to be in Swahili, or it's going to be in Japanese or German. All this technology is available. Could Facebook do it? Absolutely. Could Twitter do it? Sure. But he's too busy, twittering around, jumping up and down about, his advertisers and firing people. Could anybody do it? Yes. That's what the guy at Netflix said. By the way, Netflix is our biggest competitor internationally because they can do it. They actually use the software. But are they doing it? The answer is no. What is he paying all this money for his employees? To sit around and dawdle? When the thing is, the stuff's available. But for me, I go, that's good news, because that allows me to take more space. We like broadcasting into Ghana. We like our Kenyan relationships. We like our relationships in Morocco. And we like our Malaysian relationships, and also in Bangladesh, which unfortunately Bengal is not one of our languages we can broadcast through yet, but we're working on it. So as technology advances, what we're doing is we're just grabbing that space. And we don't have to grab it away from Facebook. They're running to the metaverse with a total of 200,000 viewers. That's stupid. I mean, it's great if you like a hobby, And I hope Mark enjoys it, but that is not where the future is. So we're going, as I tell people, we're going a different direction. We're just going to take mega space through the biggest distribution platform in the world, which is what? Everybody should know this by now.
The internet?
It's the internet. It's the World Wide Web. World Wide Web has 5 billion people on it right now. Then number 2 is Google with about 2 billion, and then Facebook a little less than that.
So you have started 2 businesses, if not more.
One's been around for 22 years, so it's not like it needs a lot of work.
Fair enough. If you were telling someone who wanted to start their business or they were struggling with their small business, what would be your number one advice?
Number one advice, you have a 50% failure rate the first year. So as you come, and by the way, that actually works with our producers, our TV producers too. I like to tell people the truth. In other words, hey, I'm going to go become a media sensation. Okay, your odds of succeeding and being around next year for me to talk to is half. 50% will fail. By the way, that also exists in financial services. Hey, I'm going to become a financial planner. Good. And if you hire 10, 5 will be there next year. Where are the other 5? They'll quit. Because the favorite word of everybody is I quit. I mean, that's the 4-letter word that people use the most, and that's the reason they're not successful, is they quit. Okay, problem number 2. In 5 years, 90% will be gone. So if you make the 5-year rule, 1 out of 10 will be there. And what happened to the other 9? They went to work for somebody else. They got a job at McDonald's. Who the heck knows? But they definitely will not be in the industry. So anybody who says, I'm going to start my own business, they have to realize the numbers are that bad. Now, I started my first business back in 1984. It was a law firm. I'd graduated from law school, and the unemployment was over 10% in 1984. In the legal profession, it was much, much higher. So my choice was to work at a minimum wage job or start my own law firm. That's not a good choice. So I decided to start my own law firm. The first week, I made $3,650 that week, when the most I could get was like $8 an hour. After making $10,000 that month, I never looked back. I was going, boy, much better to have your own practice than to work for someone else. But that's me, and I was bound and determined back in 1984 to make it successful. So if I had a potential for getting a client, and I was living in Fort Myers at the time in Daytona Beach, I'd drive halfway across the state just to go meet a potential prospect. Most people are not willing to do what it takes to be successful, period, the end. They're not willing to put in the hours. They're not willing to do the sacrifices they need to do. They're not willing to deal with the fact your income is 0 next week or maybe the next whole year. And because of that, they won't get involved in it. So most people who want to be the business owner, that's what it is. It's a dream. It's a pipe dream. And the reality never sunk into them. But that is, unfortunately, that's the reality of becoming your own business owner.
So I hear you saying, starting a business is hard, for sure. Yeah, we've said that a lot of times. It's good to go in with your eyes open. But if you are that person who's making that jump, who says, okay, I see the odds. You said that most people are not willing to do what it takes. In your mind, what does that mean?
Do what it takes is what I just said. I mean, you have a person who is 500 miles away as a potential prospect. Okay, and you're willing to get in your car and drive that far just to go see that person. Most people, nope, I work 9 to 5 and I quit at 5. That's your, okay, as a business owner, and all business owners do it, you work not 9 to 5, but 5 to 9 or more. All the business owners, and this is one thing they have in common, they work like dogs. I mean, the hours, there's no 9 to 5, 24/7, basically. Now, and most people aren't willing to do that. At 5 o'clock, they want to go home. Even my pension company I had when I was in Seattle, at 5 o'clock, all my employees were out the bloody door. I was shaking their hands out the door. And guess what? 7 o'clock in the morning, I was there. And by 9, they were walking in. I was shaking their hands. They come in. See, the business owner has a totally different mindset. They're going to stay there until everything gets done.
So if you're the business owner, is there anything you can do to foster more of that sense of ownership so that they're willing to do what, not necessarily work, 24 hours a day, but work, get it done, get the stuff done.
How do you develop more of that mindset in the culture
inside
of the company to have the employees kind of feel that same drive and passion? Of course, they're not going to have the same drive and passion as the business owner or the people, but the people in charge, but a little bit more of a fire kind of dedicate themselves to progressing the company?
There is one way. There's structures that you do different. Okay, one of the biggest structures we do in financial services. Remember, we'll have employees at the home office, which you have to monitor all the time. But we also have what they call commission. People are on commission. In other words, and that's a whole different cat. A lot of the salespeople are on commission. In other words, they get paid when we get paid, as they would say. And because of that, it changes their mindset. Then they'll do what it takes to get the job done. Because if they don't do the job, they don't get paid. Okay, so people that are on commissions are structured totally different than the people that are on salary. So if you're a salaried employee, you see things different than if you're a commissioned employee. So you have deals like I got 2 deals that just went out today. You know, I forgot what the guy was putting in, maybe 200,000 or 500,000, the other one. And it's up to the commission salesperson to make sure that deal gets done. If it doesn't get done, they get paid zero. If it does get done, they get paid $5,000 to $10,000. Guess what? Then they'll make sure it gets done. So that you have to change their compensation structure. So they're structured on a basis where they get paid when you get paid, as opposed to they get paid and whether you get paid or not is irrelevant to them. That would be a W-2 employee. And it's going to be hard to change that mentality. Next to impossible, I'd say.
In my business group, I'm a member of a group called C12. And in my business group, they push really hard for pay for performance kind of payment,
right,
so that all of your employees get a salary, a base salary, but then the potential to double that salary is there, given that the company does well and you invest in that company in terms of your time. Would you agree that that's the way to solve that?
Yeah.
Or
see, that's the model I'm bringing to the media business. Okay, I have 100 producers, but the way the producers are compensated, they're compensated as the network makes money. They make money. They don't get salaries because, hey, look, I showed up, I talked, I go home, and I get paid. No, they get based on what revenue comes through the stream. And that's how the financial services industry works also as well. This way, I get to go to sleep at night not having to worry, did they do their job? Because if they didn't do their job and the money doesn't come in, I don't die on the cross, okay? So having that, well, as you would say, the pay performance makes a big difference, because this way I don't have to micromanage people. I had somebody who said, hey, it's really great, you don't bother me. I said, well, why should I? You know, you're free to do what you want. And if you make money, we make money, good. But guess what? If your program tanks and you don't make money because you're not getting advertisers and sponsors, hey, I don't have to sit there and sweat big salaries like Elon Musk does. That's his problem, not mine.
Fair enough. So when you talk to entrepreneurs and people who want to, they're running their small business, like we talk about the first year being a slog. Your job is to make people care. And that's, you were talking about, the first couple of years, it was tough for you when you were getting started. What is it that made it so that you got over that? What is it when those tough parts where you're barely sleeping, you're working too hard, you're working too many hours, you haven't seen your wife in too long. What is it that made it? How did you get past that?
Well, the money keeps coming in. The harder you work, the more the money comes in. I mean, it's as I say in my industry, if it's going to be, it's up to me. You don't look to anybody else except yourself. Okay, so if it's to be, it's up to me, and you do that every morning. In other words, how can I make a difference, in the company? How can I bring more business in the door in the company? How can I make sure I process it more efficiently? And a lot of businesses today are service-oriented businesses, which are much better to be in than capital-intensive business. The problem I see with a lot of the startups, and we had a whole show on that, is that they want capital-intensive business. If you have a capital-intensive business, I'm sorry, your odds of succeeding go down tremendously. If you're in a service business, your odds of succeeding go up tremendously, because it's going to be up to you to make a difference. So it really depends on, like I said, what business you're in and whether or not you're willing to, go the extra step to make sure that the difference is made.
So in 2003, the .com bust happened, and I got laid off. I was a developer for a consulting firm, and so I decided to follow my dream to start a web business, which is just the worst time to start. I started Visionary Online, which Gary made. Was the first logo Gary ever made for me. and we were building websites. I built them for $300, and we tried it for four months before my wife was like, "Nope, it's time for you to get a job." So, so I totally understand the wrong place at the right time.
And if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, it doesn't matter how hard you work, because you're just at the wrong place at the wrong time, or you're playing the wrong game. And so the thing is, you've got to switch out of it and go somewhere else in a more hot, fast-moving area. Today, solar might be the hot, fast-moving area, at least the bids I've been getting. And, from solar companies, what they want to do a solar deal, it might be the hot going area, but you've got to go to where the market is and where the hot market is. You can't go into the cold market. When I was in South Florida, I want to be a corporate attorney. I don't care what I want. What does the market want? I went to South Florida. Guess what they want? Estate planning attorneys. So I had to switch real carefully and become an estate planning attorney and take those corporate attorney dreams and stick them in the toilet, because that's not what the market wanted. The market wanted people who drafted wills and trusts for people in South Florida. So you have to mold yourself to what the market tells you that it wants, and not say, oh, I'm going to pursue my dream. I'm going to be a corporate attorney. So I had a choice, either be a broke corporate attorney or be a well-to-do estate planning attorney. The other problem is this. A lot of lawyers, I'll hang my shingle out and people come through the door. I had an office in the Barnett Bank building, called it back then, on US 41, Class A building, really nice. If I waited for a client to come in the door, because I counted how much money I'd make, $75 that year. Well, I had one client walk through the door. Instead, I had to go out and chase the business all the time, 24/7, go after the business, do seminars, meet, greet, go out, talk to people. Okay, if I waited and I sat there, well, I'm an attorney, I'm a tax attorney, my door is open, I'm waiting for my business, I would have made $75 that year. We had one old lady walk in and wanted a will for $75. That was it. All that other $10,000 I made every month was me getting on my butt, going out there, meeting and greeting people. And that's another mistake people make. They get caught up in their own stuff. So yeah, if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, nothing good can happen. Like I said, if somebody said today, well, I'm thinking about becoming a real estate broker, forget it. And website developers, you got a big problem, because a lot of it's done online through, WordPress, Wix, and they made it easy. So you're selling yesterday's technology. You got to sell tomorrow's technology. And you compete internationally. In other words, you want to do a website? That's fine. I'll call half a dozen people in India. They'll do it for me too, at a much reduced rate. You have to be very careful about your international competition, because if it's through the web, they can come in and compete just like that.
Sure.
And cut your prices down to next to nothing. So you got to realize, in certain service industries, you are in a competitive market the day you walk out the door.
What's interesting when you're talking about an ultra competitive environment is the competitors almost become invisible because they're everywhere. And so it's weird, because I have good relationships with a lot of my direct competitors, because there's enough work as long as you go and hunt it down, but they're everywhere. I mean, like down the street, there's probably 3. So it's like, okay. But so it kind of gives you a different thing, as opposed to like your Microsoft, how many real competitors do they have? Not many. And they know who they are, and they fight them tooth and nail every day. Right. When you're in an ultra competitive environment.
Or they just buy them.
Or they just buy everybody.
But some of them, like Microsoft, they hit critical mass. So basically, they have no competitors, or very few, in the areas that they compete on, because they're at critical mass. The media business, the thing that interests me more about media than anything, is that right now you can grab and make your own mass, having nothing to do with anything except the technology's changed. And so I'm going to take advantage of that while I can. And the opportunities are there in media, whether you guys know it or not. The opportunities are there because you can scale yourself.
I love it. Love it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us today. Really coming in hot. I love it.
I hope I didn't bore half the audience.
No, you're doing fine. You're doing just fine.
All right.
Gary, if anyone wanted to ask questions, what would they do?
Any questions can be sent directly to us through email at hello@thebigpixel.net, or you can reach us on the YouTube page in the comment section, or any of our social media channels. And we're on all of them, even TikTok. So you can get a hold of us.
I am not dancing on TikTok. That's all I can
tell
you.
You just don't know it yet. It'll be released. First,
that.
we'll release it in Bangladesh, and then we'll have the closed captioning translated over.
No, the Bangladeshis are not ready for that. We'll be back next time, and we'll talk to you then.
And thanks again, Nick.
Thank you.